attitude for most of my life. My parents, let me say this really clear right up front, my parents loved me unconditionally, but they did not like me very much for reasons that are probably my own fault. But so I was adopted. I think I've made that clear in some past videos that I've put up. But I've known I was adopted my entire life. As soon as I was able to understand, they let me know that I was not their natural born child. I don't think that made any difference. It didn't make any difference to me. I have never gone out looking for my birth parents or made any serious inquiries in that direction. For it doesn't matter to me. My parents were my parents. My parents were the people that raised me. I could not be more different than I am to my father. There are a lot of similarities between me and my son. We look almost identical. He has a passion for art, and he struggles with his own self-esteem, and the way that I always have. And I've tried my best to be supportive and in the opposite way that my father was to me. I believe I failed pretty critically on those areas. For a myriad of different reasons, which I won't get into now, but will probably come up in the future. I want to talk about my relationship with my father and how that all turned out. So my father was a very straight line thinker. He was an architect. He was an engineer. He saw things in some critical black and white ways. He had his opinions on things. He drifted. He had opinions that were extremely conservative on one end and extremely liberal on others. He was a big proponent of nuclear power, for example, but he also embraced the reality of evolution. He was complex. He was a deep thinker. He wasn't what I would call a man of words. I don't believe I ever saw him reading anything fictional. It didn't appeal to him. But he did like movies, and he did like comedy, and he certainly liked music. He certainly liked music. I have memories of as a child of him playing the guitar, but he stopped, and I don't know why. He would play at family gatherings. He would sometimes sit out on the porch and play for himself and gently, lightly sing along to whatever he was playing. I remember thinking of him as a child as incredibly strong. I once at a carnival watched a carnival worker try to strong arm him into something. There was some kind of a dispute, and my dad, though he was a good 6 inches shorter than the dude, faced him down. I mean, just basically stood his ground and was like, "No, that's not how it's going to be." And yeah, I don't know the details of that. I just remember, first of all, being frightened, and then being impressed. My father played football in college, and I believe he played football in the Army when he was there. He was friends with a man by the name of Sonny Jurgensen, and you could probably look him up on Wikipedia and see who he was. He played for the team that at the time was known as the Washington Redskins. I had a poster on my wall of Sonny Jurgensen, and I had no idea who he was or even why the poster was there. The poster was there because my father was a friend of his, and he wanted his son, me, to embrace sports, to be a football player or baseball player or some kind of a sports enthusiast. And I wasn't. It didn't fit me. I was not a big child. I did not obtain the size that I am until well into my adulthood. I was painfully shy. I was painfully introverted. I played by myself a lot. My dad tried He signed me up for basketball. He signed me up for baseball. He signed me up for football, flag football at the time, because we were small, young. And I failed spectacularly in all of them because I couldn't grasp the intricacies of the game. I inherited, I guess, some of my father's strength, though I was adopted. I was bullied by the other team, by the other players on the team. I was told I was not good enough. I was told I wasn't fast enough. I didn't think fast enough. I didn't move fast enough. And I tried. There was one instance where the coach, and he was one of the fathers of, I don't know, it was a community football league, flag football league, tried to impress on me what the game was all about. And he set up a scenario, a play where he said, okay, here's what's going to happen. You hand the ball to Hannibal, or you toss the ball to Hannibal. He probably won't catch it because he doesn't catch anything. And then the other team is going to try to tackle you physically. They're going to try to take you to the ground, and it is your job to dodge them and to get out of their way. All right? And that apparently was to teach me how to move, or how to shift on the field so that the flag wouldn't get taken. And they gave me the ball, and I started trotting, running towards the goal line, and I got hit. I got hit by the kid that was supposed to tackle me, and I didn't go down. I mean, he hit me hard, and I just kind of ran faster. And then I got hit by another one, and then there were people, boys, holding on to me and trying to pull me down to the ground, and I was carrying 2 or 3 of them as I just kept stepping forward. I couldn't run anymore because I couldn't, but I stepped and lurched and carried these kids all the way to the goal line. I had the strength to push through them. And I was cut from the team. My father was told that I was unteachable, that I would never be good at sports, that I would never be good at football, and he did not want me there. So, it is what it is. Time is revenge, and bullies grow weak. So, the last thing I remember was Little League Baseball. I was around 11 or 12 years old, I suppose. I know there was a lot of tension at my home at the time, because it was not long after this that my parents split up. But I got cut from the Little League team after I had named the team. They were looking for a name, and I came up with the most clever, and I could not tell you what it was. I just remember being very proud that I had named the team, for whatever that was worth in the end. But in the end, I was not good enough. I could not run fast enough. I could not hit a ball or catch a ball. It wasn't my scene, And I would daydream a lot. So I was cut from the team, and my father and I were walking back to the car. And we got there, and we stood in front of the car for a moment, and he's like, well, I wanted you to be sport. I wanted you to be a sport, but it doesn't look like that's going to come true. You just don't seem to have any interest in it. Maybe someday you'll get some, and I can help you. And he put his hand on my shoulder, and he looked me in the eyes, and very sincerely, and with some sadness in his voice, told me, I have always wanted a son, but it does not look like I'm going to get the kind of son that I wanted. My father did not approve of me being on stage. He thought it was beneath him. He thought it was beneath any son of his. He didn't think it was masculine And I'm going to leave that sentence right there. When I appeared in plays, he would sometimes come, and I never saw him laugh or react, or never told me he was proud of me about those things, but he would show up now and then. And then the night of the reception, we had a dinner before we got married, before my wife and I got married. And at that dinner, he took her aside, and he told her that he did not approve of us getting married because I was not good enough for her. He told her that when I let her down, not if, let's be real careful with that word, when I let her down, when I fucked it up, he would make sure she was taken care of. He would make sure that, her bills would get paid, or she would stay on her feet. And clearly I was not going to fulfill taking care of her or any children that might come along. So he made sure she knew that when I screwed it up, he would be there. I started doing the magic stuff around the age of 27. I've been married 4 or 5 years at that time. My mother had already exited this world. And of course, he did not approve of that. He had many words to say about how, magicians are a dime a dozen, and I didn't have the attention span to really make anything of myself. My father developed a very late stage pancreatic cancer. And from the time he let us know to the time he was gone was a matter of weeks. I'd love to tell you that we got a chance to mend our fences and say goodbye and forgive each other, or at least meet in the middle somewhere, but that would be a lie. I always felt that there was something else I could have done. I could have taken an extra step to try to reconcile or try to something, but it never happened. At my father's funeral, at the wake, at the church, I was standing there with the family and receiving condolences and receiving, people telling me what a great man my father was. He certainly was. I watched the man build a house, design, and then build almost single-handedly the house that we lived in for a little while. Still there. I've pulled it up on Google Maps, and the house is still there and still looks great. My father, on more than one occasion, told me that he felt that I was some kind of a pimp or a prostitute, that I exploited people's desires and made money off of it. They want to laugh and you tell them a joke. They want to sing and you play them a song. You tell these stories and it makes people feel a certain way. You're manipulating people and you're taking their money for it. And that's just wrong. We didn't see the world the same way. Anyway, at his wake, people started coming up to me and, hey, you're Bobby's kid. You're that actor. You're that musician, right? Man, I want to tell you something. There wasn't a day that went by he didn't come into the office with a picture of you or a video that was online or a story about wherever you were performing in the world. You wouldn't believe how proud he was of you. You're all he talked about. You were his pride and joy. He would talk about shows that he had gone to see that you were in. And man, it must be great to have a father that was that supportive. And it's going to sound like a joke, but I came very close to walking out to check the name on the door to make sure I was at the right funeral, because my father never expressed any of those things to me. ever. And then clearing out his house, taking his clothes to charity, giving his valuables to the people that he wanted to have. There was a box, back of his closet, clothes piled on top, kind of hidden away. It's a cardboard box. And I pulled it out and I opened it up. And inside were trophies. 4 of them. Regional trophies. National trophies. For ballroom dancing. In his mid to late 50s, my father discovered that he loved to dance. And he took lessons. And I was told that he never seemed happier than when he was out on the floor, moving to the music, carrying his partner, creating art. And he won regional contests and he won national contests for ballroom dancing. He came home and took those trophies, wrapped them up very carefully, and hid them in the back of his closet. Now, the sports trophies, the football trophies, the golf trophies, all proudly displayed on his mantle. His passion, his heart, his love for dance that he finally discovered at the end of his life, those trophies, those he hid, he put away. He didn't want anyone to ask questions. He didn't want to have to provide answers. He loved to dance and apparently was very good at it. But he was embarrassed by that passion. I will never understand my father. And I've had to live with the fact that that's just going to have to be okay. He lived his life on his own terms. He found joy where he found joy. He found love. And he lived happily. I could only aspire to the same. And maybe on the way, I can use the gift that I was given and make some other people happy too, at least for a little while. I hope there's love where you are.